All right. I believe, I am live. Can you show me on this? So, uh, the hero's journey is one of the most powerful elements that we can use in a campaign in a BSL script. As you'll see later in this slide deck, I'm going to show you just a screenshot, a copy from the usage of my story that made over 400 million. It's insane, but story is how we communicate no matter where we're born, what color our skin is, um, what language we actually speak. We all speak in the language of story. So when somebody tells a story that we can see ourselves in, mirror neurons, and I'll get more into that later, and it has the desired outcome we desire, we can communicate a lot, but there are different aspects of the hero's journey that need to be touched upon to get the most out of it. And this goes beyond the punch in the gut bullshit that can work, but this is more effective and also more authentic. So the whole idea here in this pick rags the riches, it's all about where you were and where you are, but the content in between means everything. So why do we love the hero's journey? So here, Rocky Four, Rocky Balboa against Ivan Drago. As a kid, I was 5 years old. I the second movie I ever saw was Rocky on Betamax, beta cassette tape, and I immediately identified with the character, with the archetype, with aspects of the story that I didn't even understand, but deeply connected with. And that really caught my attention even as a kid. The fact that movies and then music became a way to identify with, to feel like somebody understands my story, what I'm feeling, what I'm bumping up against and want to break through. That's what Rocky symbolizes and is a symbol of to me. Um, that hero's journey going from the first movie just wanting to go the distance with Creed and not feeling even worthy of the title shot. And then he goes the distance and he loses in a decision. Two judges the one. And then that set the stage for Rocky 2 and so on and so forth. But the hero's journey is what made that movie successful. So ironically, the story behind Rocky telling that hero's journey was in and of itself a hero's journey. Um he was rejected. So he saw the Chuck Wepner Muhammad Ali fight. Chuck Wepner knocked Ali down. That was being there watching that. That's what actually inspired the original script. He wrote it, shopped it around. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted him. He was dead broke. Uh, his wife left him. He had to sell his dog Butkus, the dog that's actually in Rocky. He had to sell the dog to eat. Um, he ended up refining the script and got interest in it, but they wanted James Caan, they wanted De Niro, they wanted somebody else that they felt was bankable, marketable, and he had not proven that. So he was on his own hero's journey. He knew finally they were going to let him do it, and they offered him a small amount. He turned it down. I mean, he ended up getting a pretty, I forget what the number is, but a nice chunk of change, especially for that time. and got the star in the movie. So he took less in order to star in the movie. He could have got more for just the script and let James Caan star in the movie. So he bet on himself. And you'll see at a particular part in the hero's journey, as I'll describe it in a little bit, that's a very key point in the story when you take that leap of faith. And it's not just, oh, here's what I went through and here's what I discovered. That's the lame clickbank shit that Stephen Georgie and all those types throw out there, bomb it out there like freaking bullshit. These are the real archetypal truths of the archetype of the hero's journey. If you ever read Man and His Symbols, Carl Jung, there's a lot of good stuff in there that gives you even deeper insights into the psychology and why we identify. But Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, obviously the movie went on to win Best Picture, and he went on to have he's multi millionaire. He's an icon, legend. He's done it all, and all based on this one decision to bet on himself on that script, and that is a hero's journey if I've ever heard one. But we see hero's journey in all forms of movies and on the news. It's everywhere. There's different types of hero's journeys. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Um, Karate Kid, getting bullied and learning the martial art of karate and understanding how to defend himself and building that confidence, and then how that confidence translates into his relationships and other aspects of his life. There's heroes journeys everywhere, and they have different aspects that make them so relatable, so mere neuronable, if that's a word, which I just decided it is. But we are seeing ourselves in those stories, in those journeys. And that makes us instantly drop our guard, suspend our own disbelief rather than just using mechanism or new cause. You're giving me something to identify with, which takes mechanism and new cause to an entirely different and much more relatable level than just say a doctor telling you, if you have this problem, take blah blah blah, it has blah blah blah, which is proven to blah blah blah. Follow that template. That's a template. This is dynamic, and how we really think, how we really talk. We speak in the language of story. So telling stories in a way that helps me see myself in it, you hooked me. So that's the hook. The story is the hook. You can position the story and you have hook. But that's the whole point. That's the purpose. That's the reason. That's what makes it effective. So you always have to ask yourself, what am I using this for? What makes it effective? So, what is going to give people the opportunity to see themselves in this the most, to raise their hands and be like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, it's like you're in my head. It's like you're thinking my own thoughts. How you do that? So, a little bit about me, my hero's journey. I fourth grade dropout, and you'll see that this was used to make a lot of money. Grew up homeless, learned how to be an entrepreneur, had a young family that I could have made homeless, but when I bet on myself, everything changed. Like kind of a rocky moment. And in a way, I've lived lots of different of the Rocky movies. I don't know which movie I would be in right now. Hmm. But telling my story has given people the opportunity to mirror on the nothing, self-made, self-taught, um, and the fact that I legitimately used advertising, copywriting, storytelling, which was a big part of the very first product I put out there. It was all based on my story. Um, so that is how I got here and doing what I do and know what I know and the experiences that I had and the money I've made and the money I've lost and the money I've made and the money I've lost, all that shit, all the amazing experiences, all the ones. It's all a part of the journey. And today, enjoying my why, freedom, the ability to wander and experience and wander some more and then pour that into my work. That is why I do what I do. And it's important to be in touch with and actively live your why and continue your own hero's journey so you can identify it in others, in movies, pop culture, media, things that you can use other than having always to be like, oh, do you have a story? No. Do you have a story? No. Oh, nobody has a story. Well, there's stories everywhere that we can use. We don't even have to make it up, and it's just a matter of asking the right questions and doing the right 80%. And if you have to, creating that archetypal story but having meaning, purpose, heart behind it. So here's just a snippet of copy from VSL that made $400 million telling my story about growing up homeless and harvesting fruit, selling it in a stand that I made outside the EL Valley, and how I made $20,000 my first year doing it and giving it all to my mother, and growing up in the jungle and being lost and um, scary, but then showing myself what was really possible, what I could really do. That story resonated. And all I needed were my headphones. So it led to the mechanism. The story is mechanized, which is the ultimate in self identification and helping prospects suspend their own disbelief so that they become buyers and be like, oh my God, I need this. I want it. I want to be like you, please. But real talk, now I took that. I can't tell that story because the owner of that owns aspects I can't even write about, but I still have lots of story, like the slide I showed you and told you how I had to bet on myself, my rocky moment. So heroes' journeys everywhere. They are in everything that we do when we market. If we market right, there's always a story to be told. What is it? Whose is it? And how are you going to hit the story at the peak of self identification? So, here are some different aspects of the hero's journey, the dark night of the soul, when everything comes crushing down, like the Hulk Hogan, when it comes crashing down and it hurts inside. So that part of the heartbreaking, the bottom of the barrel, the peak of the oh no, it's really happening to me, and then the come to Jesus moment part of the journey when you realize I gotta believe in me, I gotta bet on me. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. Like when Sylvester Stallone bet on himself and took less money to make Rocky with him as the star, and not even really being ever proven as an actor at that level, not even close. So he just knew he had to do it. His come to Jesus moment. Then the epiphany factor, the how. When everything starts coming together and you get on the other side of the peak of scarcity, of struggle, of hardship, and then the symbol of what I want. That symbol is going to be different for different people. So in the dark night of the soul, we're unpacking all of the things, what story are people telling about the problem you can help them solve, and where in that story is the dark night of the soul, is the bottom of the barrel, and help me identify with it Give me specificity. Tell me about yours so I can mirror neuron with it. Right here, telling your story so I can see myself, the relatability, the wow, sham, yeah, uh, I hear you. We crave, we're thirsty for, we're hungry for, we desire connection. And when we see ourselves in different aspects of people's stories, we're more likely to be customers, clients. So, what is that dark night of the soul, the bottom of the barrel, when it was the scariest point in that story? It is a good place to capture attention, and then unfold it from the beginning. The come to Jesus moment, when you that moment when you know you got to bet on yourself, there's nobody else to rely on. There was you could use this as the new cause. I tried this, I tried that, and ah, I can't rely on other people to solve this problem. I need to create it myself, and that's how I develop blah blah blah. But that moment when you believe in, bet on yourself, even when you don't necessarily have a clue how you're going to do it. A lot of people can relate with that. So, what part of the story is going to demonstrate this the most? That moment, the beginning of the discovery story. Blah blah blah. The Epiphany. Yeah. So that moment when, you know, uh, let's say, Tesla code, that's when I realized that I don't need to create or manifest what I want, but get rid of the subconscious beliefs and stories ingrained in me, all the judgments and consequences. I need to clear those away. And I can do it with my headphones by matching the frequency of the subconscious, opening it up, clearing it out, and allowing for new, truer information about what's really possible for me to replace it. Right. So, getting to the point of the story, maybe, it's a supplement I discovered in the jungles of Thailand. I'm not going to get cheesy on you. Real ones, real stories. There is truth. Somebody commented in a post that I actually ghosted. Um, how can you compete with a miracle that was in the deep dark jungles of Thailand by or in the Amazon by a tribe that hasn't ever been touched by Western culture or anything that we see technologically in the world? They don't know anything about it. They're like, still hunter gatherers. Excuse me. And they use this special herb to always have perfect blood pressure. And I discovered this herb and I figured out a proprietary way to process it and to get it into my body so that it's the most bioavailable and blah, blah, blah. It's like, how can you compete with those things? Well, you can, because actually authentic stories don't bump up against objections that when we tell these outlandish made up ones. The real story about how Rocky or how Sylvester Stallone became Rocky, you don't need to make anything up for that story to have major impact. Major impact. So that part of the hero's journey, the epiphany, oh, I got it. Finally, finally. And then what part of the story represent what the person wants? If this were a supplement, healthy, being out there, active, creating memories. If they're in the 50 plus demo, going on long walks, bike rides, spending time with the grandchildren, um, traveling, doing things that felt out of reach to them that you were able to enjoy. And if you do this, you can too, to end the story, to end where you've given them where you were and where you are. And if you do what I did, you could be here too. That's the point of the hero's journey, ultimately. without, talking about what heart needs to be in there, and how to create relatability in your copy when you're telling stories. But if you get away from the tropes, there's a lot of authentic storytelling to be told. Again, it's asking the right questions, the right 80%. So here is my definition of the hero's journey. Heroes are the people who bump up against every challenge there is, the dark night of the soul, that come to Jesus, doubt themselves every step of the way, try everything, new cause. So, what new causes did cause more doubt in your story, or in your client's story, or in the stories of your customers and or your clients? And find that one thing that helps win. So the headphones, the ingredient, the hero mechanism of the hero's journey that made the hero's journey, that made the hero win. This right here summarizes it. We're all bumping up against challenges. Wow, glass ceiling. This problem is repetitive in, if you're in, let's just say, MMO. Do you want it to discover a new way to make money in your pajamas? Oh God, that's how people are getting into copywriting. So I don't want to trump that one, but you get the idea. Um, with well, I was right there with you. I had no money in my bank. I had to pay $6,000 I didn't have to my mechanic so that I had a car, getting down into blah blah blah. And then I found this opportunity, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's this amazing alkaline water unit that people install in their homes, the blah blah blah, and so bumped up against stuff, had that come to Jesus moment. I realized I needed to figure this out, found a way to do it, and then mechanized it so you can tell people how it worked for you and how it can work for them. There's all this ease in telling the hero's journey. So I'll end it there. Any questions? Let me, you know, no, comment your comment in the comments.